Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this live session by me, Kshitij on Shoot Guru. And we will be with you very, very shortly. We're just prepping and we are getting ready to host you. We are waiting for more people to join in, and once they are in, we will start the session. ऑन कर दीजिए, स्विच कर. Hey guys, and welcome to this live workshop webinar with me, Kshitij on Shoot Guru. And today we are going to be talking about the process of filmmaking. And this process is quite interesting because it has multiple layers and multiple things to learn about. And we are going to be touching upon the tip of the iceberg. But I promise that this is going to be a learning session for all of you. I'm just waiting for some more people to come in. As it is YouTube, there is lag in my stream, so guys, don't worry that I will keep an eye on the chat box. Put all your questions in the chat box. I will answer them and we will take them up. I want to make this an interactive YouTube session, which otherwise is not possible, but I will even show you guys what my setup looks like when I go midway the presentation. So don't worry guys, we will be hand-holding you through this process of your entry into the filmmaking world, and we will be with you shortly. So guys, we are actually doing this for the first time, and it's the first time we are actually coming live with this setup on YouTube with sound and everything. It's only been possible with the help of YOLO Box, which is one of our sponsors for today. YOLO Box, YOLO Live is amazing, and it is actually allowing me to live stream all of this. But I am taking a look at the chat box and I see there are quite a few people here. Thank you guys for coming in. It's a pleasure. If you can hear what I'm saying, if it's clear, just put it in the chat box that you can just put a yes. And with that, put your name and the city that you belong to so that we know where are you from and who is here. So it's just a tally we would love to do and keep in touch with you later. And as long as you're here, please, please, please hit the subscribe button right here down below, and it would be a pleasure because we are going to be doing a lot of these webinars on the YouTube channel of Shoot Guru, and we would love to connect with you through and throughout. So we're going to start very soon. Another, let's say, let's give people another 3 minutes, and we will start at 6:10, and we will take you through your journey in the filmmaking industry. So guys, we are talking about filmmaking. And my first question to anybody in the industry is, what is filmmaking according to you? And whoa. तो क्यों चला गया? स्विच कर दिया तुमने? So guys, welcome to this workshop by me, Kshitij on Shoot Guru, and today we are going to be talking about what is film. So when I talk about what is film, film is all about emotions, all about understanding people's how your films affect, how the videos affect people. But there is a process, there is a method, there is a way how these things are actually presented to the audience and how they affect the audience, and actually how a filmmaker executes all of these at the ground level. And in today's workshop, we are going to be talking about the three layers of film. First being pre-production, second being production, and of course, third being post-production. In pre-production, we are going to be talking about some very basic things that are a complete necessity for you guys to actually adhere to and you guys to actually follow, because those are the things that will make or break your film. Because we have made mistakes in our past when our pre-production was weak and we landed up wasting time and we landed up wasting money. But what you really need to understand is that this process is not rigid. This process is not something like made on stone, but rather it is something that you would follow to follow your dreams and of course have fun all the way. And for your benefit, I have all the comments on this iPad right in front of me. I am looking at these comments, and we are going to be making it interactive, and we are going to be making it very interesting. So we are talking about film over here, and we are talking about the process of filmmaking and the basics of it. So the first and foremost thing that we talk about in films, and what do films do? They affect emotions. We have to understand what emotions are. We have to understand how our audience is thinking, and we have to understand what our audience is really looking out for and what will attract our audience. And before I continue, there's one question I forgot to ask. Is everybody here okay with English? If you guys are okay with English, I will continue in English. But I will do a mix of Hindi and English because I am looking at the people here, and there are some people from the south as well. So we will cater to them as well, and I don't want anybody thinking that they're not understanding what I'm saying. But if in case you want me to repeat something in Hindi that you did not understand in English, put it in the chat box. My team is keeping an eye on the chat box. I am keeping an eye on the chat box, and I will take that up very easily. मैं उस पे बात कर सकता हूँ. दो languages में मैं ठीक तरीके से बोल सकता हूँ, वो है हिंदी और इंग्लिश. इसके अलावा मैं टूटी फूटी फ्रेंच और स्पेनिश भी समझ लेता हूँ, मगर हम उसमें आज बात नहीं करेंगे. So getting back to, we will talk in English because there are a lot of people who are coming to us from down south as well, and of course out of India. There are two people who are actually out of India as well. I just got to know in the list. So going back to what we were talking about, we were actually talking about film and emotions. Emotions is everything when it comes to films. You are making a film from a human being. You are making a film which will affect the emotions of a human being. So you need to understand what your audience is actually thinking. You need to understand what your audience is doing. You need to understand what your audience likes and dislikes, and kind of combine everything together and then execute it in your film. So once you know that what emotions are and how they're being affected by film, there are a few things that you need to follow to get there. The first and foremost, every film has a life cycle. The life cycle starts from pre-production, goes into production, and of course there is post-production. But understand this, guys, that there is one more layer beyond post-production, that is distribution and selling your film. We will be talking about that as well. That's a bonus that I'm going to give to you guys today. That is a bonus tips that you're going to take back from here, that how do you actually make money once you start making films. So here's a question to everybody in the audience. Do you shoot videos, or have you ever made a film? Just put in the chat box. I'm going to take a look at it. And if you do, just say what genre of film did you shoot and how did you like it and what did you like in it. We will take that up later. So when I do talk about the life cycle of a film, film, as any other project, also starts at the very core, that is the budget. A budget of a film really affects anything and everything from conceptualization to execution. Right? So when I'm talking about film, there is budgeting, there is the second point is pre-production. So pre-budgeting is usually part of pre-production, but the actual pre-production does not really start until unless we have locked on a budget, until unless we have really understood what our budget is and what kind of money are we getting. So in the pre-production process, I'm going to of course discuss it as we go ahead, but in the pre-production process there are multiple layers that one needs to take care of, right from scripting to production design, art, color, everything is decided in the pre-production process. Then you head to production. This is where you execute what you have written. This is where all the dreams are executed. This is where everything comes to life. Your cinematographers, your directors, your art directors, everything that they have been working on is being executed on this and is being executed at this platform. Sorry, there was a technical glitch. I am back. So I was talking about the life cycle of a film, and we did talk about budget, pre-production. We were talking production, which is actually the execution of what we see, which is actually the execution of what we have dreamt and seen throughout. मेरा PIP नहीं आ रहा. So when I talk about production, it is where your cinematographers, your art directors, your production guys, everybody comes together and really work on the floor on the film and really execute what the film will transform into from script to edit. From there you go into what I call the crisis. The crisis is always part of the film production process because this is the contingency plan that you need to have if something goes wrong. And when I talk about crisis, I talk about situations where you are not actually you get stuck in situations which you have to recover from. You get you're stuck in situations where you have to troubleshoot. Maybe your camera stops working, maybe your light stops working. What if your actor backed out? Something would go wrong in this process, and it is very, very natural if something like this does go wrong. And you just recover and you just move on, and that is what the process is all about. Then once you are ready, once you're done with your shoot and everything is done, your schedule's finished, your actors are going back home, now comes the post-production part, the third layer of filmmaking. In post-production you have to be very, very careful about it, because post-production is all about recreating stories on the edit table. This is the third and the final layer where the editor has the power to actually make or break a film. He has the power to change the whole story. He has the power that he can make the story look really, really different, or follow what the director did, or follow what the writer said. So in post-production, you have to talk about storytelling. You have to talk about anything and everything from storytelling to the main script, to your direction, to everything. And of course, final and the most important thing is distribution, be it selling on YouTube, be it distributing on OTT platforms, or going through film festivals. All of this we will discuss about as we go ahead. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask those questions in the chat box. I have the chat box open in front of me. I am keeping an eye out, and of course, welcome everybody. Hi Nikhil, hi Mahima, hi Vardhan, and of course Tanishk, Ravi, all of you guys. Welcome to this live session with me, Kshitij, on Shoot Guru. It is our first ever a big YouTube live that you see here, a workshop on YouTube. So bear with us if we make any mistakes. But then again, we will get back to you very, very shortly. And now coming back to what we were talking about, we are talking about budget. You have to understand what budget is. You have to understand what your costs are. You have to understand where these costs are really coming from. Well, I'm not saying you have to become a chartered accountant or you have to learn commerce, but I am talking about taking care of expenses that could make or break your bank and could also affect you in the future. So when we talk about budget, when we talk about what kind of costs you have to take care of, the first and foremost are of course the pre-production costs. The pre-production costs really also include your meetings and your phone calls and all your ideation. Everything comes under the pre-production cost. Pre-production cost includes writing. It includes your cost of your writer. It includes the cost of your production designer. It includes the cost of your art director, because costume designer, all these people are involved in the pre-production process and their costs need to be taken care of. The budgets that you are working off need to be really inclusive of what these costs are. Once you're done with your pre-production costs, once you've understood what your pre-production costs are, you have to also calculate what your costs are going to be. How much will you charge as a filmmaker? I know this is going to be your film. The next film is going to be your film, and there are times when we do not put a cost to our efforts. But what I personally feel that our efforts are the most expensive efforts we make, because we are giving our time, we are putting our effort, and we are putting our day and night, and of course we are taking the biggest risk of making this film and putting our reputation at stake when we are doing this project. So we have to take care of all these costs. We have to be understanding about how these costs work for us. And depending on how these costs come together, you will get to know what is your spend power when it comes to spending money on your project. Now, understand another thing, understand one more very, very clear basic. If you are talking to producers, if you are talking to financiers, if you are talking to people in the industry who are putting money into your project, please bear in mind, never ever depend on costs that go in the air. अगर आपको कोई बोलता है काम शुरू करो हो जाएगा, never believe him. This is all utter BS, and believe me guys, it doesn't work. Always fixed cost, always have it in writing. Always get your budget cleared and your budget signed off, because at the last moment there are people who will back out, there are people who will not listen to you anymore, and your project will go flop if that happens. So be very careful, always lock your budgets. The second cost that really affects your bank is your equipment cost. I know you would own a camera. I know you could also own a light. Maybe you collaborate with somebody who owns all the equipment. But what if something goes wrong? What if your camera stops working? What if your light stops working? What if you need additional sound devices? What if you need additional movement devices? You need a gimbal for your shoot. You have to consider all of these costs based on your script, based on what you're trying to present, and based on what you're trying to do. So your equipment needs need to be understood. Your equipment needs to be considered when you are actually budgeting for your big project. And when I talk about big project, guys, always remember, if you make a film in a zero budget, or you make that film in a multiplied by a lakh, 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs, 3 lakhs, 1 crore, it is your project, it is your baby, it is everything that you are wanting to do, it is everything that you are concentrating on, it is something that will make your portfolio, that will of course get you big business in future. So when we are talking about budgets, you have to consider your equipment costs, you have to consider your crew costs. I love collaborating with people. I love getting newcomers to my shoots. They shoot with us, they work with us, they have fun with us, and it's amazing. They get to learn a lot. But I make sure I cost their travel and I cost their food, because travel and food is something I would never ever let them bear. So when it comes to crews, always calculate costs. That would be a cost to the person you are collaborating with, or that would be a cost to person you are working with. So when you are talking to people about collaborations, when you are talking to people about working with you on projects, always calculate their costs, and crew costs include travel and food. Then we have location costs. We have costs that could make or break your bank, because locations are very expensive. Locations are something that would actually increase your budget to an extent that you have not even calculated, and would really break your project in terms of money. The best way to go about locations is to collaborate, and I'm going to tell you about the collaboration later in this presentation. Kindly keep it in PIP, please don't switch. And when you talk about location costs, you are actually talking about renting locations out. You are talking about going to a location, coming back from location. So your logistics costs are also very important. And of course, the cost of getting your cast there and getting them back is also important. Another thing you need to consider is what that location has to offer. It's not only the rental of the location, it is also the resources that you get on the location itself. Usually the kind of resources you get are electricity, our water, our parking, our toilet services, and all these things need to be considered when you are actually considering a location, because that will really add to your cost if you end up not taking care of these things. When you are in the process of scouting a location, imagine a situation where you did get a location but did not consider the cost of electricity, because you thought electricity is going to be there and there was no electricity. So always budget for a soundless generator. And the soundless generator will actually be something that will help you if you actually get stuck in situations where you need to get electricity for a location, and those locations will cost you much higher than what you originally calculated. Then it is the cast. The cast is a cost, guys. I know actors would love to collaborate with you for free. Actors would love to work with you for free. You are giving them an opportunity in life to do something, so they will take that opportunity and work with you for free. But what you are not understanding is that there is a cost attached to them as well. They will come to the shoot, they will go back, they will need food. You will not say no for food to them. So always build relationships with actors by offering them at least cost that they would have to bear out of their pocket. It is usually very minimal, and actors do come in very low cost when they're just starting off. So go to theaters, watch their plays, watch these what these theater companies are doing, watch what these theater actors are doing, collaborate with them, talk to them about the possibilities, and then go ahead. Then of course the main thing, your production costs. Your production costs are actually anything and everything that, sorry about that, my bad. So your production costs are actually contingencies that we have to take care of when we are in production, when we are taking care of anything from your camera to, from a pin to an airplane. Every little detail comes in your production costs, comes in your costs, where you have to bear them, and you have to make sure that there are no mistakes made and nothing is actually lost, and you don't end up losing the quality of production that you're doing. So this also includes getting the best of lenses, getting the best of lights, and of course running the show. You need people who are efficient enough to run the show for you, who are efficient enough to run your production for you. There should not be any flaws, there should not be any problems, and everything needs to run ultra smoothly. Only then will you have a world-class product. So when you're working with people on production, when you're working with people on sound, when you're working with people for anything else, be careful who you hire and be careful who you work with. I'm just going to see some questions that are coming in. So I am going to be talking about script writing. We are going to be talking about film festivals, definitely. Awesome. Vardhan, even I was thinking, what if that was not practical and it was like again, going back. The final cost that you could bear or you would bear in your production is your post-production cost. And why I talk about post-production cost is it is not only about editing. You can handle editing. I know you're a filmmaker who can write, who can shoot, and who can edit. But what if your film gets selected in a very, very big festival and you need to do a DCP convert? And when I talk about a DCP convert, this is actually a digital cinema package convert, which is needed for your film to run in cinema halls or for your film to run on those big projectors. Now, when you consider that, it's a very, very big cost. It's a cost that comes to you per second or per minute. It will break your bank if you do not consider it. It will break your bank if you do not think about getting it right. And going ahead, you need to get color grading done, you need to get conversions done, you need to get sound mastering and balancing done, you need to do so many things in post-production. You have to consider every bit of it. And why I'm concentrating so much on cost and so much on budgets is for one simple reason. Budget is something which will allow you to do your future projects. If somebody invests even 1 rupee, and mind me, even 1 rupee in your project, you will actually end up giving him back 10 rupees. That is what he's expecting. He's expecting a return from you for that 1 rupee. Be it your own money, you are expecting a return for that 1 rupee. You need to invest it right, you need to do it right, and you need to manage everything from your pin to your airplane and get your costs done. There is something which I call the pre-production. This is a phase which your film goes through before you even conceptualize it. This is a phase where you decide for whom are you really making this film for. Who is your audience? Who is going to look at what you are going to make it? Can I have the slide, please? Awesome. So, first and foremost, you need to define your audience. Somebody who loves to watch horror might not like love. Somebody who loves to watch comedy might not like action. Somebody who likes action might not like drama. And somebody who likes drama might not like comedy. So you have to really be sure and research about this. And this is not a marketing jargon. This is not something which I'm saying that you have to think as a marketer, but you as a filmmaker, you have to analyze where your audience is. You have to analyze where your audience is sitting and what your audience is actually going to love watching once they do. So always define your audience. And the first step in defining your audience is the platform. The platform where you are going to publish your work. Are you going to publish this work on YouTube? Are you going to do just private screenings? Are you going to do film festivals? Or are you actually going to release it in cinema? And now, these days you have the biggest option, OTT platforms. OTT platforms like Amazon Prime, Netflix, Z5, Alt Balaji, Hook. There are so many OTT platforms that are looking for content. The market has literally blown up after this corona lockdown, where the market has opened up for accepting new content from independent filmmakers, and in the process demanding for content that really works. So awesome. Then going ahead, the second is the genre of your film. When I talk about genre of your film, you have to decide what your audience is, where they are, and what kind of films will they really like. If your audience is horror and it exists on YouTube, you will not make a comedy film for an OTT platform. So you need to understand your audience and select your genre accordingly, select your theme accordingly, and then start conceptualizing. Because that genre, that theme will be also based on preferences. What kind of content does your audience really prefer? What kind of audience does what kind of content is your audience really looking out for? So your audience preferences need to be understood. This is like a marketing activity, but rather it is actually an activity that will help you conceptualize better, that will help you develop your content for the audience it is targeted for. Then, view duration. If I decide to release it on YouTube, I need to be sure that the audience that is on YouTube is the audience I am making my content for, and what is the view duration that this audience likes. The latest research tells us that anything under 5 minutes works on YouTube, under 3 minutes really rocks, and under a minute is a super hit. So your content will vary from a minute to 5 minutes if you are on YouTube. But if you are doing it for OTT platforms, then your episodes would vary from 12 minutes to approximately 45 minutes. Depending on what is your content, depending on how appealing that content is, the view duration will vary and you will have to create content accordingly. Then understand the characteristics of the kind of content that you're creating. Understand where your audience is sitting and what kind of content are they actually consuming and what kind of content is working for them. If I want to make a film for Netflix, I have to be sure that it is at the topmost quality in the genre. It has to have the best of actors. If actors are my thing, it has to have the best of story. Since the time these OTT platforms really came on board, we understood and we saw so many new faces, so many new stories. We at one point in time started believing that Radhika Apte was a sponsored actor from Netflix, but we in the end did realize that, well, she was only supporting, she was only being present in all the projects that were being taken up by producers of OTT platform content. And Netflix was a very, very big market, and Netflix was something that people would look at because Netflix was international and Netflix was the first platform to come into the market. But then again, as the market grew, as new and new people came in, we got so many more options, and nowadays it's a bomb. And I'm going to be talking about how you can actually release on these platforms much later, because you can actually release anything if it fits the criteria of the platform without actually spending too much money. Then, once you've understood who you are making that content for and what is that content, now you need to start working on your message. Your messaging has to be very, very precise. Your messaging has to be very, very intact, and your messaging has to be something that you can actually portray what your script is really talking about. If your audience is somebody who likes thriller, your messaging cannot be comedy. If your audience is somebody who likes real life stories, you can't head for pure fiction. And if your audience is somebody who loves pure fiction, well, God help you, because then you will really have to do what Sanjay Leela Bansali and Karan Johar do, give out films that have, sorry to say, but no sense at all. Anyways, whatever audience you are concentrating on, whatever genre you've selected, your messaging has to be on that. So you decide on your plot, you decide on what you have to write on, you have to work on, and you have to really play with. Then you have to research, you have to look for similar topics, you have to look for very, very similar content that has been successful in the past. And when all of this works out, you have to look for something what we call as complications. Now, complications are very interesting. It's actually a whole new workshop that we usually do, and there's a very, very dear friend of mine, Hitesh, who takes this workshop where he comes, takes up your script and breaks it down to ask you the logical flaws in your script. And that is the real game, when you start questioning your own stories, when you start questioning what your content is about, when you start questioning what you are really talking about and presenting to your audience. So you should now start looking for complications. You should now start looking for flaws in your script that your audience could identify. Look for your biggest critique. Look for somebody who would give you constructive criticism, guys. The criticism that comes to you should be constructive. Criticism that is not constructive, don't mind it, let it go, and just move on. Never, ever, 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 ever listen to deconstructive criticism, which is bad for you, and of course, it is bad for your health, so avoid such people. So, develop content based on the plot, based on your audience, start writing it. Writing your content is very, very important. So what you do when you start writing, you have to research. And in research, like I said, you have to look for similar content. When I say look for similar content, I don't want you to copy it. You need to be intelligent here. You need to see what has been the success in the past, what are you really working on right now, and how does the project that you are working on right now related to the successes in the past, and how can you do it better. If you are getting inspired by somebody's success, that would only mean one thing, that your project, your story, your content has to be way, way, way better than them, and it has to be more interesting and it has to be more intriguing. Let's see if there are any more questions in the audience. Okay, people are just having fun. Guys, put in your comments in the comment section in the chat. I put your questions in the chat. I will take them up as I go ahead. I don't want to miss out on answering any of them. So don't worry, we will take them up as well. Then, once you're inspired, draw your inspiration, work on your inspiration, work on your content. Talk to people. And the best way, the best method to really start talking to people is to look out for directors and filmmakers whose films are really doing in film festivals. Start visiting these film festivals. Start going to websites like Vimeo.com, V-I-M-E-O, that's V-I-M-E-O, Vimeo.com. And for that purpose only, I am going to show you guys something which I personally do when I am actually working with Vimeo.com. And you guys should really, really check this website out. It is mind-blowingly amazing what kind of content is available here. On Vimeo.com, when you reach a page which talks about joining and which talks about plans. Well, all of these are actually for content creators, where content creators can come and upload content. So I am not going to be talking about uploading content, but rather I am going to be talking about where to go to watch stuff. So go to inspiration and go to watch. Once you hit watch, this is where all your masala is, this is where all your inspiration is, and this is where the real game is. You will get to see the staff picks. Staff picks are content, staff picks are things that actually work for you, because these are curated by the people at Vimeo for you. They have actually worked very hard to pick the best films for you. If you go down under staff picks, there are current running topics like Black Lives Matter was a very, very big thing. So the hashtag Black Lives Matter is trending. Then black artistry in film is trending. So all these things were being worked upon, are being worked upon, and a lot of filmmakers are creating content in these genres. As you keep going down, you will hit the different categories of film, like animation, like travel, like sports, experimental, and my personal favorite, documentary. Vimeo has the largest repository of documentary films that there is on this planet, and 99% of them are 100% free. So don't hesitate to go there. Don't hesitate to take your content and understand what you are going to work on. Search for similar topics, search for similar kind of content, and start writing. So when you actually start writing, you start really creating content that fits in your genre, that fits in your portfolio that really fits in what you are planning to do or are trying to do. Don't copy work. Don't make something identical. Well, I would rather say don't make a bad copy of it, because if it's a successful piece of work, it would already be doing good. And if you make something which is less than at par from what these guys created, you will end up losing audience, because every single person will start really comparing your work from the previous success. And that, by the way, is very bad, because sometimes it will break your motivation, and don't do that. So never ever ever copy content, but get inspired and execute. Start writing. Writing is a process. It starts with a one-liner that is in what we also call as a hook line, which actually talks about your film in just one sentence. One sentence talk about one-liner. When I say talks about your film in one go, and it talks about your film and its genre or its story, and it has to be very, very interesting. For example, I am working on a project this year. It is a film set in post-apocalyptic Delhi with survival for hunger. Now this is my one-liner, this is my plot line for the shoot that I am actually planning. This is my plot line of the shoot which I am actually planning to do post this lockdown, post everything, once everything gets better. So this is the one-liner that I'm working on. One-liners are hooks. One-liners are statements that you would make in front of your audience so that they ask you the next big thing. Well, what about it? The one tip here is my pro tip that I want to give to you guys, that when you are writing the one-liner, it can also work for your business. For example, when people ask me what I do, I tell them, I open the world for you. And now that person asks me how, and that is when I start by telling them that I do photography, I do film, and of course I teach you how to become a digital content creator. And coming from there, one thing that has been very, very clear is that people ask you the next best thing, that how do you do it? This is where your one-pager comes, and one-pager is usually the so if one-liner, sorry, I'm going back, one-liner is actually your 15-second pitch or your elevator pitch. Now your one-pager becomes your 3-minute pitch, 2-minute pitch, and that is your summary or your synopsis of your full project. But remember guys, your one-pager or a synopsis will never ever ever carry the climax, will never ever complete the story, because you want your audience to ask you the what and how again. When they ask you the what and how again, now they're stuck, because now they have to listen to the full story, and this is where your 5-pager comes in. That gives you at least 10 minutes to 15 minutes in front of your audience, where your audience will listen to everything. Here is where you establish your characters, here is where you establish your scenes, here is where you establish your story, here is where you establish anything and everything that is under the sun, and then you start writing, which leads to a script and a screenplay. A script and a screenplay are very, very similar things, but only difference in definition is a script could be for any form of video, but a screenplay is usually for films which go on screen, which have dialogues, which have scene-by-scene depictions, and which have scene-by-scene execution. So once you've done your script, once you've gone with the script and screenplay, you do a script breakdown. I'm going to fairly show you what a script breakdown really looks like, and of course what a shot division looks like. This is what a script breakdown is. By the way guys, the screen on your right is what a screenplay or a script looks like, where we talk about dialogue, we talk about scene, and we talk about what is happening there and what characters are there and what are their actions and how the camera is flowing. So when we talk about script, when we talk about how a script is written, you can use 2 or 3 softwares to do it for you. There are some things you have to be really, really careful about, like the slug line, like the action, the dialogue. All these parameters have to be understood, and all these parameters have to be kept in the right place, because those are the parameters that will help you do the future processes of script breakdown and short breakdown, and of course then short divisions. Once you're done with all of that, guys, recommended softwares, Celtex, CELTX is a very, very recommended software which I tell people to use, and it allows you to write AV scripts, normal basic documentary scripts, and also fiction scripts. Then you have another software which has now become my personal favorite, which is actually Studio Binder. Studio Binder is a mind-blowing software, and what we've done is we've actually developed a workshop around Studio Binder. So if any of you guys are really interested in writing, you can actually come and attend the Studio Binder workshop, which talks about how to use Studio Binder for your next production, and really how to write serious cinema or how to write serious digital content when we talk about screenplays. I have no idea about books, and I never promise books because I'm not a book reader, but I will recommend Raghav. I will come up with recommendations and tell them to you later. Screenplay format. The thing that you see on screen is a screenplay format. Then you have Vardhan, how to make attractive ads, videos, means script writing and preparing. Well, that is what we're talking about right now, and we're only talking about the tip of the iceberg. We're not really going into the details because this is just basics. Use Studio Binder, use Celtex. They give you pre-written scripts to practice on, and that really, really helps, and that is how I started writing. So going ahead, we come to a script breakdown. Once you're ready with your script, once you know what your script looks like, once you know what we are talking about in your script, your screenplay, your actors, every single detail has been sorted out, your scenes are slotted out, everything is visible to you, then you come to a script breakdown where now you break down everything prop by prop, shot by shot, scene by scene, location by location, so that it is easy for you to kind of coordinate. A breakdown summary really has all the cast in it, has all the props in it, talks about sound, talks about extras, talks about how many days of shoot it needs, talks about how many people, crew members it needs, talks about the location it will be shot at, and all these things, when they come together on one sheet, they allow you to do better coordination, they allow you to do better planning and amazing production value. Infinite theory, we are definitely going to talk about sponsors when we come to distribution part of this presentation. The last part of the presentation, to the last part of the workshop today, is all about distribution and all about how you can start affecting your audiences and start gathering your audiences for a better tomorrow. So what a script breakdown really is actually a list of what, where and how. So what you need, where you need, when do you need it. So the what, where and when, and of course how do they get there. So the what, where, when and the how is what you have to really understand, and your script breakdown really comes down to the schedule, which is very, very important, because this is where you will tell your actors, you will tell your crew members that they have to come on this day of the week to this particular location, and these are the scenes that we're talking about, this is the content that we're talking about, this is the script that we're talking about, and they will be prepared, they will be ready to come and work with you on that film, on that project, and your production values will actually increase because everything will flow seamlessly. That is the benefit of doing script breakdowns and short breakdowns. And coming from there is an incident I always remember, and I kind of end up discussing in a lot of my workshops. If you've attended my previous workshop, there was a feature film project that we worked on about, I would say about 5 to 6 years ago, and the film project did get executed, it did get released, everything did happen, but we did not have a good pre-production, we did not have a good script, and we definitely did not have a script breakdown or a short breakdown. So the biggest problem we faced is we never knew what is going to happen next. We never knew what we needed on different shoots. We never knew who is needed on different shoots. And of course, the director had everything in their head, and he expected us to kind of gather all the information and execute projects. So what happened in the end was we lost time, we lost money, and the most importantly, the director and the producer lost their credibility. A 30-day project, mind me guys, a 30-day project converted to over 100 days of production, and I ended up losing a lot of time and money because I backed out in the end and didn't get paid. A lot of other people backed out, didn't get paid. The film got executed with alternatives and the film cost skyrocketed because the original crew backed out, and it was a huge problem. Be very, very, very ultra careful about all of this, and be sure that you stick to your pre-production and you make your pre-production right and you execute it. So Arjun has a question, very interesting question about pre-production. That is, what are the basics of building a character in a story, especially short films? Short films, especially, are all about character and story, and they go hand in hand. You have a choice of either writing a story and then building a character into it, or building a character and building a story around it. So once you do that, once you understand what it really is, that is when you start executing it better and you start revolving around the content in a better way. So, Sugan is asking a few tips to the script writer who moves from short film to feature film. In script writing side, the scale varies. The process is the same. You will still do pre-production, you will still do research, you will still work on budgets, you will still talk about execution of your script. The major thing that will vary is the scale, and when scale varies, you have to have a seamless story. Your story time has increased. Your shoot time has increased. You have to shoot more now. Your scales of shots have increased. Your feature film has to look even of a bigger quality. By the way, there are short films which even look better than feature films in terms of technology. But when it comes to story, the story is very fast, very precise, and very on the point. And when it comes to feature films, you need to build it up. Feature films need beautiful build-ups. Feature films really need you to execute your research in a much better way. Parin, we are going to talk about web series later, because I am actually working on a web series myself that I might execute once everything gives me a green signal that everything is fine. So, coming back to production. Now, production is very, very important. You spend time and in your research, you spend time in what you wanted to write, you spend time in what you wanted to do. It is now time to execute what you have really worked on. So in production, the first and the foremost tip that I give to anybody, if you are the director, let's say if you wrote the film and you are the director, definitely stop living inside your head. People around you don't have the power like PK did to touch somebody and get all the information. They need to be fed information. They need to be told what needs to be done, how it needs to be done, and where it needs to be executed. Now, if that would have been the case, that people would have got information so fast by just touching people, I would have been the happiest married man alive, because I would have understood what my wife wanted from me. But then again, I'm not. Going forward, you should stop living inside your head. You should now start telling people. Nobody's going to steal your story. You have got that story registered as a writer. You are part of the Writers Guild. Your story is copyrighted. Nobody's going to steal your story. The biggest thing that nobody is going to ever steal from you is your vision to execute that story. So, when you stop living inside your head, you come to a point where everybody, from your spot boys to your actors to your directors to everybody, knows what they're shooting and why are they shooting it and what is needed, so that your setups are ready before you even start executing them. For a faster, seamless production, you have to be sure to come up with production lines that are much faster, that allow you to do better productions and have to be seamless, so that you get the best of quality at the least of costs. Then you need to prioritize your coverage. You need to make sure that you create a list of the most important footage that is to be shot, so that you don't miss out on your story. Guys, never ever ever, because of creative shots, miss out on the important shots needed to make the story. So you have to prioritize your important coverage. You need to have a get it done attitude. Now, the get it done attitude means that no matter what happens, you are going to finish your schedule. No matter what happens, you are going to execute it on grounds. So, if you as a director, as a writer come director, have that get it done attitude, you will inspire the people around you to work as hard as you are doing, and your project will come out very, very well. And this has been the case with me. My first short film which I shot was a theatrical play. I converted a theater play into a short film. I did everything. I wrote the screenplay. I worked with my actors for rehearsals. I built the set. I cleaned my set myself because I didn't have assistants. I would pick up the equipment from where I rented all my equipment out. I picked up my crew members from where they had to join me. There were times when I would also help my mom in cooking the food, because my mom was getting all the food for my production, and I was executing everything so that nothing goes wrong and nobody is really affected by the process, and everything runs very smoothly. Always have a get it done attitude. Do not depend on other people. As an independent filmmaker, you do not have the privilege, or you do not have the, I would say, the freedom to be very unorganized, or to be very lethargic on a shoot, but rather you have to be on top of everything and execute. And of course, when I say get it done attitude, you still have to be flexible. If you are a writer, and as a writer, I know people write the world out. They actually want to give everything to their projects, and there are ways by which they are actually writing the script, and there are things that they want in a particular way. What happens then? The most important thing that happens then is you get rigid about taking a particular shot or shooting a particular scene. What if the circumstances on the shoot do not allow you to do it? You have to be flexible enough to kind of really work backwards and execute it backwards. When I say work backwards and execute backwards, is you rehash your situation. You reanalyze your situation, and then you start executing. So be flexible on the basis of your circumstances and the place, and of course the time that you're in, and then execute and make sure that you get the best quality of footage out no matter what. Of course, some tips: work on shoot schedules, because shoot schedules are very important, and every single person in your team needs to know when they have to come, where they have to come, and what they have to do. Day of days, when I talk about day of days, is again the days that people need to be aware of. The actors when they have to come, the production when they have to come, the crew when they have to come, they have to be aware about what are the days they need to be available on set, what are the days they need to be available there, without actually hampering the quality of production. And of course then people should understand that once the set is rolling, once the shoot has begun, there cannot be anything that goes wrong. So start working on that. Let's take some more questions. Is it necessary to be written for becoming, to be a writer for becoming a good director? Not at all. If your vision is perfect, if you have the tendency or the capability to execute scripts, to take the vision of others and execute them, you can be a director. You don't need to be a writer. The one thing that you need to have, and that is bad excuses for a bad production. Shoot with what you have. You can't blame it on the camera. You can't blame it on your equipment. These days, phones shoot such brilliant picture. There are cameras that are available for cheap. You don't need such high-end cameras all the time. I know that this is a very, very high-end setup that you see here, that is kept here. You don't need this. All you need is a phone. All you need something like a mobile device with a good camera in it that you can actually execute with. So, when we talk about executions, the first and foremost thing is use cameras available for cheap, because that is a cost that you have to bear. Look for scenes or create scenes in situations or locations that are available for free. Your friend's apartment, the restaurant next door, the newly opened restaurant that was stuck due to corona and now needs publicity. Hotels do collaborations. Work out collaborations. Collaborations really will help you in executing your locations in a better way, and of course reducing your costs. Use as much natural light as possible. I love lights. I am sitting under a light. If you look at the setup that I'm really shooting on, like doing this live on, I'm gonna ask Sakit to kind of zoom out on this setup. Look at this setup. When I talk about natural light, I am actually imitating a natural light source. The light is falling from top. I have a backlight falling on me, and there is some really decent things that are around me. But you can work with natural light. You don't need cinematic lights all the time. Sakit, zoom back in, please. So work with natural light as much as possible. And the biggest reason to do that is it won't cost you jack. Natural light, when I say, is the sun. The sun is your biggest light. The sun is your biggest HMI that nobody can turn off. But it can be diffused due to clouds and can trouble you when it rains. But that doesn't really matter. What you can do is start executing projects in natural light, start working on scripts that work in natural light, develop stories that are based in natural light and outdoors. Your travel films are shot in natural light. Your documentary films are shot in natural light. So why not fiction? Fiction can also be shot in natural light. Fiction can also be executed in natural light, and things can be done very easily. Then share credit and ownership. This is very important. When you are actually collaborating with people, when you are actually working with people, you need to start giving them credit. You need to start giving them a name on the film. You need to start giving them a place on the film that they would be proud of, they would be executing and or distributing and spreading the word. The biggest benefit about giving credit and ownership is people start sharing your work in their own network, and you definitely get good views and you get good reputation, and in the end you will be able to get good numbers. Now, going ahead, there is one tip that I would want to give, and it's a very serious thing. You would skimp on everything. When I talk about skimp, is that you will compromise on everything but the script. The script is something that you will never ever compromise on, because that is what your story is, that is what your real content is all about. So your script, your story is something that you will never compromise on, guys, because that is your showcase. Compromise on locations. Go to locations that are available for cheap. Compromise on shots. Make your shots look better without using gimbals or without using anything, because if you want to reduce cost, that is where you reduce cost. But never ever break your story just because you could not afford to, or you had to compromise some scenes. Don't do that. Then this is another tip that is important. I'm going to tell some bit of about it, is build a following. You need to have a following. You need to have fans. I know for a fact now, after creating Shoot Guru, when I have about 150,000 followers on Instagram and some followers on YouTube, some followers on Facebook, when I release a film, I would at least get 100 views. I would at least get 200 views, or at least some people will listen to me and view it. Now, when you build a following, when you build a fan base, when you build a platform where you can distribute, it will help you get the recognition that your project needs. It will help you get everything that is needed to make your project the next big thing. And of course, guys, there is no such thing as luck. Luck is something you need to leave behind, and you have to depend on all the hard work that you will be putting in to actually execute your project, because that in the end is going to be your vision. I'm going to see some more questions. There are some more questions that have come up. How does one get copyright for his work? How does one get a grant or a sponsorship? Mitesh, amazing question. I'm going to take that up right now because the next few slides are very technical, and we're going to just touch upon them and move ahead. They're for DOPs and script writers, because script writers need to understand what shots are all about, and we've been talking about shots. Now, the first and foremost thing, as a writer, you need to be associated to the Writers Association. The Writers Association will give you a privilege to get your scripts copyrighted. You can register your script there at the association and get your copyrights done. There is a process to it. If you are interested, you can actually DM me or write to us on the email on this YouTube channel, and we will actually get back to you. Plus, you guys would definitely have my personal WhatsApp number, so you can WhatsApp me as well. Now, grants, well, you have to look out what genre of film or what kind of film you're making. Just Google grants for such and such film, and you will get so many places where you can get grants from. And you can also do crowdfunding. There are websites like Wishberry that allow you to do crowdfunding for films, and these projects work brilliantly. We have done something of our own that we will be executing this year and releasing by December, hopefully. And we will be also doing behind the scenes of it to tell you guys how we raised the funds for it and how we executed the film. So crowdfunding also works very well. But in all these processes, guys, there is an ownership, there is an onus, there is a liability that comes to your head, that you have to deliver in the stipulated timelines. You have to deliver with the guidelines, and you have to have a very, very kick-ass world-class product. So, going ahead, is there any more question? Parin, I am not talking about contracts in this session, because contracts is another very big thing. So when we do our boot camps, when we do our short film boot camps, those are 2-day workshops. Those workshops really hold all these things in detail. And of course, you can become the member of the inner circle. I'm going to explain the inner circle once we're done with the workshop. The inner circle gives you access to us and our resources and helps you execute better. There's a how to start story from crash, like from beginning, from scratch actually. So how to build it up? Well, it's a story building workshop. Again, this is not a story building workshop, but if you have something in specific that you want to ask about, you can ask that. How much does variation quality of video matter during post-production? It does a lot. If you have a quality standard, for example, if I'm executing the script with an S1H or an S1 that is a full frame camera, and then I bring in a micro four thirds camera in, there is a difference. You really have to work hard in color grading and post-production color grading that will make it look better or at par of the higher camera that you have, and of course you can manage it. There have been films which I've actually shot scenes on the iPhone for, on the different things for, but there are things that you need to consider, that when you are shooting on lesser quality cameras or lesser technologies, you will have to come up with a lot of hard work in post-production, because the matching of colors is really hard and it takes a lot of time. How do you build a screenplay from the story? Well, but the basic difference between a screenplay and a story is the screenplay has dialogues. The best software to start with is a Studio Binder or Celltex. These are automated software. Studio Binder is free. You can do a free project in Studio Binder, execute it from start to end, have everything running. If you are using Studio Binder, if you're doing one project on Studio Binder, you can use the complete software for free for that one project. But if you have multiple projects, that is when it really starts charging you. Now we are actually going to be talking about tech. Now when I talk about tech, the first and foremost thing is, what camera do you work with? I have worked with so many cameras in my career. I have worked with tapes, cameras that used to have tapes in them. Then we moved to digital. We got full frame cameras that started shooting beautiful digital video. Then came the era of mirrorless cameras. We picked up mirrorless cameras. They were sensitive to light. They helped us a lot in many things. And then these things actually helped us execute our projects better. And now is the age of technology where you start choosing your camera basis the resolution. Whether your camera can actually shoot 4K, whether your camera can actually shoot 6K, and now 8K, now 12K. There are so many Ks that are coming in the market. But then again, what is your usage, how you are going to use it, and what is the really thing that is going to benefit you, that matters a lot. Image quality matters a lot. Don't go by the name that a company says that it is giving you camera that shoots 4K. You have to understand whether that camera was a native 4K camera or not, whether the camera had the capability to do native 4K or not, because that is where the real image quality lies, and that is where the image quality will differ. Lens options. Buying a camera body is nothing. Buying a camera body is easy. I mean, I have the S1 over here. This is about 3 lakh rupees. I have a GH5S which costs me somewhere about 1 lakh rupees, and then I have a G9 which costs me less than a lakh. So there are so many camera bodies that are available to me. But what if I can't afford additional lenses? So the ecosystem that you really work in is important. The reason I moved from a full frame camera body or full frame camera to a micro four thirds, which is actually my personal camera. This one's been loaned to us by Lumix. I'm honored to have this with me because we're testing it for them. But when I moved to a micro four thirds camera, which is much smaller sensor, much smaller form factor, and the reason I moved to it was because the ecosystem was ultra affordable. The lenses were ultra cheap. Saket, if I can just get some lenses and show people what these lenses I'm talking about. Now, you have to understand, it is not just the camera body that I'm talking about. It is not just the camera technology that I'm talking about. This here in my hand is a cine lens. A cine lens, a usual normal cine lens would cost you a bomb. They start about 3 lakhs, they go above than 3 lakhs, and they are ultra uber expensive. This is a micro four thirds cine lens. It is actually a 10 to 24 lens which has a 20 to 48 equivalent focal length, and it is a par focal lens, which basically means it acts as a real cine lens where it maintains focus at any focal length. Now, in reality, on a full frame camera, on a cinema camera, this would cost me close to 10 lakh rupees. But this thing costed me less than 1.5 lakhs. And that is what is the power of technology is. You guys have heard of the 7200, right? You guys have heard what a 70-200 is. This is what a 70-200 is, and this is what a 7200 is. This big mean machine, this white lens, what every wedding photographer wants. This is what 7200 is. It's big, it's expensive. This is my 70-200. This is my micro four thirds 70-200. This is what I use to get the shot. This is also f2.8. This also has the image stabilization. This has everything in it. Look at the size. Look at the form factor. The quality is not that bad. It is actually at par to this baby right here, because I am utilizing it in better. If there are any wildlife guys, if there are any people who are into wildlife, well, have you guys heard of the 800mm lens? This is my 800. This is actually a 100-400 micro four thirds lens, which is equivalent to a 200-800mm lens. This costs me less than 1.5 lakhs. The 70-200 that I showed you, the 70-200 over here, this costs about approximately 1.5 lakhs to 1.75 lakhs. This one costs only 80 grands. This is the ecosystem that I'm talking about. This is the ecosystem that I'm working with. This is the ecosystem that I recommend people because it's ultra cheap. And this is how you select your ecosystem as a filmmaker. There are some brilliant films that have been executed and made on different lenses. You love aperture. You love larger aperture rings. openings. This is an SLR Magic 0.95, guys. 0.95 T stop lens. This is ultra sharp, ultra fast, and ultra good in low light. A 0.95 on a full frame would cost you a bomb, and you won't be able to afford it on a regular basis. This again does not cost you as much, plus it's compact. So what really is, when I talk about technology, what really is when I talk about how you execute your kit, how you build your kit, what lenses or cameras to buy. People keep asking me what camera to buy. I always tell them, buy a ecosystem that is not going to burn your bank and is going to last you very, very long. Yes, Infinite Theory, you can use two different camera bodies. I actually execute all my films using the S1H and the GH5S because both of them shoot log and both of them shoot very, very high quality 4K. The S1H also shoots 6K, but I use the 4K capability. We also execute almost all our films using the GH5S and the GH5. If you go onto this channel that you're on, if you subscribe to this channel, you will get to see a lot of our work that talks about a lot of these cameras and a lot of the content that we produce. And there is a lot of content we are going to be putting up here as samples as well, because we've just turned our focus towards YouTube. And this is, as I said before, my first YouTube live workshop that I'm doing. That is why we kept it unlisted and a little away from our public view, because we didn't want to make any screw ups in this. But then again, thank you guys for attending, and I hope this is a worthwhile workshop for you till now, and we will go ahead and start talking about more things. So I'm going to be talking about camera settings. Now you know what camera you're using, now you know what you're using in terms of technology. But there are some camera settings that you really need to take care of. The first and foremost is your frame rates. When we are talking about cinema, when we are talking about what frame rates to work with, you are talking about 24 frames per second. You are talking about cinematic frame rate, and cinema is 24 frames per second. But if you want to start shooting slow-mos, if you want to start executing slow-mos in your shots, then you need to shoot higher frame rates, and some cameras can go up to 240 FPS. And when I talk about these cameras, these are your basic mirrorless cameras or DSLRs which have the capability to shoot slow-mos. But then again, if your camera does not, even if it shoots 60 FPS, it's decent enough to get at least a 50% slowed down shot. A few settings that I would recommend to all of you. I'm not going to go too technical in today's workshop because it is not about camera, it is more about production. But I still want you guys to be careful about and learn this bit, because when you are executing this with any DOP or any filmmaker or any cinematographer, you should know shutter as always has to be double your frame rate. So if you're shooting cinema, that is 4 frames per second, or if you even shoot 25 frames per second, one frame does not really make too much of difference. Your shutter has to be double, that is 1/50th of a second. Because how it works is your frame rates sync with your shutter speed and produce a very natural looking motion blur that looks very cinematic, and that is what cinema is all about. Depending on the camera that you use, your ISOs should not go beyond 3200. The camera this session is going live with is an S1H. It has the capability of ramping the ISO to 12,800. When you go to 12,800, the best bit is you don't get any gain in this camera, because the camera has been designed to do that. It is the world's best low light performing camera. That is what it was awarded last year, and it has actually come out very well, and we have executed really brilliant projects just by using the camera and no additional lights. So ISO between 100 to 3200 for entry level cameras is decent, but please be careful, because the more gain or grain you get, you will lose quality and you will lose your film. Aperture. Be very careful about aperture. So aperture is actually the opening of your lens. I don't know if you guys will be able to see this. Sakit, can people see this?
Yes.
So when you look at this, and when I talk about aperture, the aperture is the opening of your lens, that how wide it opens and how narrow it goes. Yeah. So this is completely open and this is completely closed. Now, when we talk about lenses, and I know that there are people who have 50 mm 1.8s, who have f2.8 lenses, and this is a t2.9 lens. Guys, your lens is the sharpest at one stop under. Remember that. If you are somebody who shoots, your lens is actually sharper at one stop under. Your lens will be able to give you really sharp image. Why? Because at its largest opening, its focal length is much, the focal gap is much smaller, where the focus will only move from your subject's eyelashes to the eyebrows. But if it's one stop down, let's say if you're using a 1.8 lens and you're shooting at 2.8, it becomes this big from the ear to the nose. So now if your subject is moving front and back in the same shot, you will not end up lose focus. Larger openings or highest openings are okay when you do photography, because you just have to snap and you just have to close the frame, and you have to freeze the frame. But when it comes to film, the subject moves front and back, there is movement in your frame, and people will end up losing focus. So be very careful with it, shoot one stop below. Ronak, when it comes to stop motion, it's a very interesting question that Ronak has asked, that can we execute all kind of stories as a stop motion film? Well, no, you can't. You have to have very specific films. You have to be very specific about how you're executing these films and how you're taking things forward. Then going ahead, you need to have good support systems. Guys, buy the best quality of tripods, because these will really help you execute films. Buy tripods which are video tripods and give you video capabilities. So always go for fluid heads, always go for heads that are solid, that can give you pan and tilt options, that have access locks, and it works nicely. Use the best of sliders. When it comes to sliders, your sliders have to be ultra smooth, your sliders have to be very sturdy, and they should be able to take good weight. Use gimbals. Gimbals are important these days, because there are a lot of things that you execute in your script which has movement in it. Cinema is all about movement. You have to move in and you have to move out. And when we talk about movement, this is where your quality of production really matters, where your quality of production increases and you are able to execute better looking films, and you're able to keep the interest of your audience. Handheld rigs are okay, like this over here. Handheld rigs are needed to actually attach things to your camera. I have a follow focus ring over here, which is actually a wireless follow focus ring. I have a mic, I have a base plate attached to it, and this is a rig. This is an L cage by YC Onion. YC Onion makes beautiful L cages that really help you or assist you to make your camera much more sturdier, because for one simple reason, the main form factor of your camera, the main form factor of what the whole build of your camera is, will make it harder for you to take very creative shots, because it is lighter, it is smaller. These rigs just make it very easier to hold and execute. Sound is ultra you would say, I wouldn't say expensive, but important for any film. You need expensive mics. You need high quality condensers. Can you zoom out and show people what mic I'm shooting on? So if I zoom out on this frame, there is a mic right here. This is actually a boom mic, Daddy boom mic right here, which actually gives me condenser sound, and which gives me a bigger condenser to work with. And what the quality you're hearing, if I go closer to it, so it's directional, it is pointed towards my chest, it is about this away from my mouth but pointing towards my chest. This is how sound needs to be placed. If I hold it tight, my sound gets muffled. If I open it, it gets better. So the condensers in these mics are brilliant. They are very high quality condensers, and they give you good sound. Then you have smaller shotgun mics, what we have here on the table. This shotgun mic is actually something that would actually give you good quality when you are in a run and gun situation, when you are in a situation where you are actually working on sound, and you're recording interviews and you're recording sound of your subjects. One thing you have to be very careful about, these are very directional, and since they are on the camera, they will capture sound that comes into the camera. So if your subject is looking into the camera, this is the kind of mic that you would need. So if you're on an event, if you're on the run and gun, if you're on the streets, that is what you use. Lavalier mics or column mics are decent, but I rarely prefer lavalier mics until unless I'm really shooting a wide frame where I can't put a boom mic. For one simple reason, lavalier mics have a tendency to rub. Lavalier mics have a tendency to capture extra noise, and lavalier mic, the basic definition of lavalier mic, which is a column mic, is actually a very, very small condenser when it is compared to a shotgun mic or when it is compared to a boom mic. And the lavalier mics will actually be of lesser quality any day. And the sound that a lavalier mic usually captures is much more muffled, much more deeper, because it is very, very close to your mouth. And it is actually underneath layers of cloth when you are shooting fiction, because you need to hide it. Light. Light is very important. What if I was doing this presentation with this? It wouldn't have looked nice, or it would have looked too dramatic. I would have had to manage too many things in my shot to make it look better. Well, lights make or break any frame. Lights really make or break anything that you do when it comes to creating films, and light is something that makes your films more cinematic. I do prefer the low light situation where there is a nice light coming from this side of the frame. It is actually a backlight that I'm getting. I'm using a Scrip personal light. It's actually not this light right here. This is more of a prop, but there is a light on top right behind it, which is actually the main light, which is giving light to my shot. If you can see it on the top right there, and that is what is falling on my face, that is what is lighting my face. This is very, very dramatic. This is very, very, I would say, mood based lighting, but we are in a situation where we need to be talking about better light, we need to be talking about executing light, so you have different options available to you. And my go-to light in a very, very low budget situation is this right here, and I'm going to turn this on and turn this off. This here is an Aputure MC LED. This is a brilliant light that actually tells you what it is all about. And what I really like about this is the intensity that I can work with, and I can place it in any situation, in any place possible. It has a magnet on it. I can put it on metallic surfaces. It has basically a screw mount on it, so I can mount it on light stands as well. But that is not the reason why I really like this light. The real reason why I love this light is this. It has built-in effects. It allows me to create moods, create scenes that belong to my film. Lightning. If I want a lightning shot, I don't have to wait for thunder and lightning to happen. I don't have to wait for the weather to turn. I can just do that. What if I want to imitate something like a TV? If I place this in front of me, this would actually give you guys a feel of a TV. The light will switch in that particular way. The light will change on my face in that particular way, and it will give you a feel where as if I am looking onto a TV. Then if I want to do a faulty bulb, what if I want to create a very horror kind of a situation, and what if I want to create a very thriller kind of a situation? So this faulty bulb really gives me that fun bit over there. And fireworks. Fireworks are the hardest to capture, and fireworks would be able to really execute brilliant mood for your film, brilliant mood in your film or your scene. And imagine if you can just add a little bit of fireworks sound in the back. It's a Happy New Year scene and fireworks are happening at a distance, and this is the kind of light that is really falling on your subject's face, and it will look mind-blowingly beautiful. And then the most fun one that I personally like is, of course, the cop car. Guys, don't use it for illegal purposes. That's not right. But rather, you can create a cop car chase situation. You can create a situation where you are actually showing an action sequence. So this is where it helps. And of course, you don't have to light up fires anymore. You don't have to really work with fires anymore. I can imitate a bonfire right here. And the best bit is that this light actually connects to my phone via an app called Sidus Link. The Sidus Link app allows me to control the light using my phone and really manage everything from a distance. Let's turn our key light back on and let's turn this baby off. This is battery powered. It comes with wireless charging and of course C-type cable to give it power if you want to run it continuously, if you're a vlogger or anybody who wants to do that. But then again, this is your one light, go-to light every single time. Then you have what we say is wireless transmission. Wireless transmission is needed in events, wireless transmission is needed in situations, and in current situation of COVID, you need to have wireless transmission for one simple reason: you need to have distance. Wireless transmission will also allow you to keep your your directors away from your basically your camera. It will allow you to basically execute projects better and give your directors a space with a monitor, and your wireless transmission can easily be transmitted. I use a device called Holyland and Holyland 400. So these are the Holyland transmitter and receiver. This compact setup actually gives me 3 hours of wireless backup in any situation, giving me HD footage. This does full HD wireless transmission from your camera to any HDMI enabled device. The best bit is it has a 400 feet range in any open situation and 300 feet range in a closed door situation. And moreover, the transmitter, when attached to your camera, can transmit onto a phone or a mobile device, a smart device as well. And there's an app called HolyView which you can use to monitor your footage using your mobile device. Now we come to something which is very interesting and very important. Before I go there, let me take up some more questions if there are any. The light that I was using, this light over here, is an Aputure MC LED light. It's a brilliant one-man light that you need. Thanks, Shaurya. Okay, and by the way guys, people viewing this video will not be available on YouTube but rather be available on the Shoot Guru app. So if you've not installed the Shoot Guru app, please do that post this workshop. The whole video will be available for free on the Shoot Guru app. The Shoot Guru app itself is also free. But what we are going to now talk about is visual storytelling. What we are now going to talk about is what it takes to write scenes. So the first and foremost thing in visual storytelling is composition. When we talk about composition, it is how you actually compose your shots or how you execute your shots to look cinematic, to look beautiful and to look brilliant. There are some basic techniques that I'm going to be talking about in shot to vision, and this is why I'm talking this over here is for one simple reason, that you will be needing all these terms when you are actually writing your film, when you're actually writing the scenes of your film. First, the extreme long shots. Now, extreme long shots are very critical shots because they are the establishing shots of your film. They are the shots that will establish the scene, the premise and the story. You have long shots. So long shots are wide shots as well, but they establish character. If I compare the previous shot, the extreme long shot or the extreme wide shot, the character was very small and I couldn't really establish what the character is and what the character is doing. But rather, when I come to a long shot, my character is now much more in frame. I can tell about storytelling of the character in a much better way, and I can establish the character in a much better way. A full shot is your character detail shot. The character detail shot is all about what your character is, what is he wearing, how is he standing, what is his face expression. Every single detail needs to be captured, but still you need to concentrate on the background. Full shots also tell about a story, they tell about premise, and they of course talk about the current situation. Medium wide shots are more of a mood shot. Medium wide shots really focus on the faces of your subject, the expressions and the situations they're in. A cowboy shot is a shot that is cut on the thighs, because when the Western films were made, they concentrated on cowboys of the West, and the cowboys of the West always had guns, and they used to do these tricks with their guns, which would be shown as a very, very specific thing in cinema. So they would always shoot them as what they call as a cowboy shot. Superheroes are shown by cowboy shot. Instances or action, when something is going to be executed, when something is going to be acted upon, is a cowboy shot. So your cowboy shots are done when you need to really involve your audience in the film, and you really need to involve your audience in the scene. Medium shots again are about story, they're about backgrounds, and they're more about character building and characters. Medium close-ups, you get some bit of background as a reference, because you want to tell your people where they are, but the major focus is on the face expression, and a lot of dialogues are spoken in medium close-ups. Close-ups are now deep shots. This is where your audience will really connect with your character. This is where your audience will really connect with what is happening in the film. And as you can see, the backgrounds are more shallower, they're more blurred, so the focus is purely on the character. Extreme close-up shots are very creative, because they need to be taken very sparingly, because you get into the total detail of your subject, of your character, and every single detail has to come out. So they have to be very clean, they have to be composed well, and they need to follow some rules of composition so that you can execute them better. We come to post-production workflow. Post-production is very important. It is the third layer of your film. It is the third layer where you are actually now going to recreate your film on your system. Now when I talk about post-production, the first thing I always recommend people is to dump your footage, right? Have multiple backups, have at least 2 backups, and you execute your film accordingly, so that you follow script and you follow shots, and your editor get a chance to view every single shot. Another advice, make sure your editor assists you on the shoot, because that is when they will understand what needs to be shot and what needs to be edited, and why did you shoot a particular scene, or why did you change the script. The editor has the power to really make or break a film. The editor has the power to change the whole story. Just by moving a scene here and there, the editor can change the whole meaning of how the film is flowing and what the film is actually talking about. So editing is very important. Some softwares that you can really use for free, and the one software that you can use for free is DaVinci Resolve. DaVinci Resolve 16 is 100% free for you guys. The only thing missing is denoise, and of course high bitrate footage that you can't import in the free version. But the free version, on the other hand, if you're starting off to learn how to edit, is your perfect companion, because you do not need to pay any money. Then, as alternatives and industry standards, you do have Premiere Pro and Final Cut Pro, but then again, Premiere Pro for me crashes a lot and is a nightmare. And FCP is very Mac specific. As Windows users, you cannot use Final Cut Pro X. But then again, DaVinci is multi-platform. It is multi-usability. So if you're switching from Final Cut Pro or you're switching from Premiere, it is very easy to switch, because the software asks you whether you want to use the keyboard layout of Premiere or Final Cut Pro, or build your own. DaVinci is an end-to-end software. It has something which will allow you to edit your footage, make it into a film, color grade every single shot, do CG using Fusion. Fusion has been inbuilt into DaVinci. Using Fusion, you can also do CG to your films, and of course, then have the final product, which is of very high quality. So always use something that is affordable like DaVinci for any production. So are there any questions till now? Because we are coming towards the end of this seminar, and I am going to be talking about something very important right after this, after I take some questions up, and that is marketing. That is, how do you market your film? That is, how do you market your content? So coming to the questions, how do we get in touch how do we get into Bollywood as a director? Start creating your films. Start taking your films to festivals, start winning awards. This is what I'm going to be talking about right now, that how you do it. But to become a director in Bollywood or Hollywood or wherever, you need to be recognized. You need to have a brilliant portfolio when it comes to shooting fiction films, and you need to have awards on your list. And of course, be on IMDb with all of this so that people recognize you as a director and take you on board on projects. My comments on vlogging, well, this is vlogging right here. If I don't have a live audience, I am vlogging. Vlogging is everywhere. You're vlogging in your dreams, you're vlogging sitting at home, you're vlogging when you're talking to friends. Vlogging is something that is you and eternally you, and has a huge market when it comes to creating content, creating branded content. Brands these days are looking for personalized content that talks about people, that talks about stories, that talks about places, and that is where vlogging really comes in. We have a very special program that we run for vloggers, and this program is available on the Shoot Guru app, wherein you can come and join us and you can learn about the vlogging process and also how to grow on Instagram. Shortcut is not an industry standard. That is why I would not recommend it. DaVinci is 100% free. Why do you want to go for subpar softwares that are not industry standards, and people will not pick your work up because they will look for industry standards? A copyright of story is not needed for short films, but do not copy anybody's work, because if they challenge you, they can actually screw your happiness and they can actually take you to court. So never ever copy work, but get inspired. If you do short films based on inspiration, it still works. I think I've done a lot of questions already. So the brands of the lens, the brand that I'm using, this is a Dezo lens, D-Z-O-L-E-N-S. It's on my YouTube channel. The reviews on the YouTube channel, this very YouTube channel. Please tell again the script writing softwares. The script writing softwares are Celtex, C-E-L-T-X, and Studio Binder. Awesome. So going ahead, now we talk about one of the most important things, and some things that will actually really help you go to the next level and keep producing good content like you have always wanted. How do you market your film? The first and foremost thing, who are you making this film for? Where are they located and how do you reach them? That is very important. You need to start building your audience. And when I talk about building your audience, you need to start having a fan following, because the day you release your film, be it on YouTube, be it on OTT platforms, maybe it's a cinema release or it's a private screening, whatever you do, you will have to have an audience that you can call. And these necessarily are not your friends, not your family, because your friends and family will come once, will come twice. But if they're not really into filmmaking, if they're not really into films, art area films, or the kind of films that you are making, they will stop coming. You need to start building your audience that you can call anytime for any of your projects when you are screening them. Now, how do you build an audience? You build an audience by becoming an influencer. And when I talk about influencers, when I talk about how do you become an influencer, we have a very, very special masterclass that is coming up. The link is in my bio on Instagram, and I'm going to share the link here as well post this workshop. But you need to have a following, you need to become an influencer in your genre if you want to take your film to festivals and get awards. Festivals give you exposure to other filmmakers, and when you meet a filmmaker with a following, when you meet somebody who you can say, well, I am also on Instagram and I have so many followers and I am doing so much of work, my fan following is great, this is what is happening. So your exposure to those filmmakers will be more stronger and they will end up listening to you. There are film markets at film festivals where you get producers. You can pitch your project to bigger producers and maybe your short film can be executed to become a feature film. So film markets are very, very important. Another thing, You are going to these film festivals because there are like-minded people. Guys, if there are like-minded people, you will get to execute better projects and you can then collaborate. When you start collaborating with people, they have to be on the same platform as you are, and of course enable you how to execute your projects and how to make them look better. And these collaborations work very well when you meet like-minded people. Start showcasing your films. Go to any and every film festival. Be present there, because if you are present there, you get to talk to people. If you get to talk to people, you really get a chance to sell your film. So that is where you now start asking for grants. If your film is doing well, if any of your films have done well, you can ask for grants based on that. Now grants can come in multiple formats. The basic format of grants is that it comes to you through government. Governments give you grants. Then again, there are private organizations that give you grants. Wishberry is an organization that allows you to do crowdfunding. You can crowdfund your film, you can get better money for your film through crowdfunding. So all these things can be executed and all these things are available to you when you are heading towards creating a portfolio that not only gets you money but also allows you to do bigger projects in future. So guys, if you have any questions, please put those questions in the chat box. I will definitely take them up, because that actually concludes my presentation for today. And for all of you guys, we have this masterclass coming up on how to become an influencer. This is all organic. And the best bit is we are giving the subscription of a platform called $80. $80 is a platform that allows you to do organic engagement on Instagram, and we will give you the subscription for free when you join us in this workshop. The link is in my Instagram bio. So we have a question where we can look for background music. I use a website called artlist.io. Artlist.io is a very beautiful workshop, a website that allows you to select the music basis your mood, basis anything and everything that you are doing. We can, of course, Paran, take any questions on WhatsApp. If you have anything, just ask on WhatsApp. I will reply you on WhatsApp. What does, oh, this is really good question. In my words, what does cinematic mean in technical side? My opinion. Well, cinematic is all about executing your vision, your script in the right way possible. That means using the right cameras, using the right lenses, having the right kind of lights, using the right settings so that your footage, the raw footage that you capture is cinematic, is an ingredient which will make a cinematic film. Does Moza Mini MX work with iPhone 8 Plus? I have no idea, I haven't used it. And Vardhan, thank you so much. And I hope you guys liked this workshop. Then again, if you see that the masterclass on how to become an influencer is happening next Saturday on 8th of August at 6 p.m. again. It is a pure interactive workshop where we are going to be talking about how you can make your Instagram look better and become an influencer. We have very limited slots. We only take up a very limited people per month for this workshop. This is a monthly workshop or bi-monthly workshop. We only take only a few people. Why? Because we will actually analyze your accounts and we will actually tell you how you can execute your Instagram in a better way to get better results. And for those people who are here, there are about 33 people who are here. If you sign up within the next 24 hours, guys, if you sign up within the next 24 hours, I will personally analyze your Instagram account and handhold you for the next 15 days of setting up your account as an influencer account, and I will make sure that you hit a 10% growth within the first 3 weeks of starting with us. That is a promise. The first 25 people who register for this workshop will get that through Shoot Guru, and that is what I am actually going to execute. And for all of you guys, I'm going to put the link of this workshop over here. It's a brilliant workshop that we have designed that talks about anything and everything in the Instagram space, anything and everything in the Instagram modules, and I'm just gonna put it in the chat box right about here. That's the link. I don't know if you guys can actually. Oh, it is a clickable link. So guys, do check it out. It is priced at a very special price. The original price is much more expensive. It is a paid workshop. Why? Because I am giving you $80 for free, and of course, hand holding you in your journey. And another thing that I really want to showcase to you guys and show you guys is something what we call as the inner circle. So the inner circle is a very, very sacred area of Shoot Guru where we hand hold you through your process of filmmaking on your journey in the filmmaking and photography arena or as a digital content creator. What I talk about in the workshop, you get all these workshops for free if you are an inner circle member. And then again, you can connect with us on a one-to-one basis on the WhatsApp number that you got a message from and the email that you got a confirmation from, and join us on any of these. It would be an honor for you to be a part of Shoot Guru when we start executing films again post this quarantine. And there are some projects that I want to announce. There is a web series that we are working on. We might start production by December. We have a few sponsors already. We're just waiting for things to get better so that we can really start working on pre-production. Then we have a few short films that we're working on. Guys, if you are part of the inner circle, you get to work on all these projects with us because that is the opportunity we give to the inner circle members and the students of Shoot Guru, and there are so many things that you guys can learn in the process. So then again, thank you guys for joining us today. It has been a complete honor, and yeah, it is a online workshop, and of course it is a online thing. The whole process, the whole program is an online workshop and an online thing. And of course, comments are more than welcome. If you love this session, please tell us how we can make it better, what we could do differently, and how we can execute things better, and what are the topics that you would want us to do more workshops on so that we can help you enhance your skills in the filmmaking and photography zone. We have a very special workshop happening next Wednesday. It is a workshop on Photoshop. Saket is taking this workshop, and you can see his paid workshops on the app. That is a free workshop happening next Wednesday that will be announced tonight as well. That will happen on Zoom. The Instagram workshop will also happen on Zoom, but the free workshops henceforth in filmmaking photography will happen on YouTube because we are now building our YouTube channel so that we can even share better content with you in future. Okay, Mitesh, my final 5 takeaways when you are shooting a short film. Tip number 1, get your pre-production right and keep everything set. Tip number 2, make sure that you have your resources accounted for and your budget accounted for, because your short film will break if your budget is not done well, if your resources are not done well. Tip number 3, execute on collaboration. Start collaborating with people, because collaboration is going to reduce your costs and is going to allow you to shoot better quality projects, because you will be collaborating with people like me. I collaborate on different projects. You can pitch to me, but the inner circle gets the preference for pitching. Outsiders come in later, and I'm sorry, but that is how the thing flows, and that is what we execute with. And tip number 4 is always have multiple backups, shoot high resolution image, and of course edit well. And tip number 5, keep some budget for distribution, because even if you make any film in a zero budget, you need X amount of money to distribute it. You will need a few $1,000 to get views on YouTube. You will need a few lakh rupees to get it on OTT platform marketing. You need a few crores to get it distributed on cinema theaters. So when we are talking about short filmmaking, that's it. And that's it, folks. That's it for tonight. If you have something nice to say, the chat box is open. I'm still here if you have more questions, but we will shut this workshop down in the next 3 minutes. And the WhatsApp number is available for you guys. The WhatsApp number is rolling on the screen. If you can just check that out. It is my personal line. It is my private line where you guys can actually connect with me, and you guys can get feedback. You guys can discuss with me. The only thing you can't do is a one-on-one session. That is a privilege only for the inner circle members. The inner circle members really get the privilege to do a one-on-one with me. Shrisha, when we talk about sponsors and website or any products, that happens in the influencer marketing workshop. We teach you how to collaborate with brands, and we teach you how to really get money out of brands to execute projects of your own. Thanks, Mitesh. Thanks, Sunny. Thanks, Paran. Hina, Shoot Guru app is not on iPhone. I am gonna share a link with you guys right now. You guys can use so the on basically iPhone, it goes by the name of My Institute, and the My Institute app is something that will allow you to kind of install it on an iPhone, and the organization code is RGVAG. It's RGVAG. So I've just put up a Linktree link over there, which will actually take you to the My Institute app, and of course execute that there. There is a question that this is the power of WhatsApp that we have right here. This phone always comes to me when I get pinged. There's a question Aditya is asking about where to get background score. I had mentioned it in the workshop. It is artlist.io. If you guys want a discount on the artlist.io subscriptions, just let me know. I will get you additional months free for whatever the subscription is. It is a subscription platform, but the best bit about that subscription platform is that you get licenses for any kind of video and to be executed anywhere on the web or offline as well. Thank you, Srisha. Thanks, Shubham. Thanks, Ronak. Manas, you guys will be able to watch this video again, and on the Shoot Guru app. It will go up on the Shoot Guru app. It will be made private on the YouTube channel after 24 hours. This video will be available for the next 24 hours on the Shoot Guru channel, but post that it will be available on the web, on our app. So guys, thank you for attending. It has been a complete pleasure interacting with you, and I never thought that YouTube could be such an interactive session. It has been a complete pleasure having you here. Thank you guys for taking out your weekend time for this session, and then again, keep in touch. I am available on WhatsApp. I am available on the Shoot Guru app, and there are a lot of things that you can go on the Shoot Guru app which are available for free, and a lot more things that you have to pay for which are available at a huge discount. And that is what we are talking about right now. The influencer marketing workshop happens on the 8th, and the first 25 people to really buy it, and that is the limit actually of the, right? I will take you through your journey for the 15th. Is actually okay. My people are telling me it's the first 10 members. Sorry, I will actually check that out. I just got a message saying it's actually 10 members. The first 10 members get hand holding for the next 15 days, where I guarantee that you will get 10% growth in 3 weeks. So guys, if you want to join it, this is the time. We've already sold 3 tickets, and then again, you're more than welcome to join us as well. So take care of yourself. Have a nice weekend and have a great week ahead, and hopefully we get to see some amazing content coming from you guys very soon. Looking forward to that, and looking forward to execute more and more things with you. So take care guys. Ciao.